A ritualistic sacrifice by a satanic cult, or killed by demonic individuals dabbling in witchcraft. Even to this day, these are the rumors swirling around the unsolved mystery of the death of Jeanette De Palma. On August 7, 1972, 16-year-old Jeanette of Springfield Township, New Jersey, told her mother she was going to catch the train to a friend's house about 8 miles away. She never arrived or returned home. Her parents filed a missing persons report the next day. After 6 weeks of no leads, a dog brought home a decomposing arm to its owner's apartment complex on the 19th of September. The responding officer made the connection to missing Jeanette De Palma, and a search of the area began. Her body was found in the Hudai Quarry at the peak of a large rock formation known to locals as the Devil's Teeth. The location lends itself to sinister implications, as do conflicting reports of the scene around her body. In the wooded area close by are her sandals, a Vicks inhaler, a small green compact, lipstick, a comb, a key with a ring, an eyeshadow box, and a clear vial with an unknown substance. An officer later reports that he saw the person took note of its contents, but set it back down when agents arrived to take control of the scene. It's unclear what happened to the purse. We do know that her necklace with the gold cross was not on the body or ever found. The controversy surrounding this case stems from one officer's remark that fallen tree limbs around her resembled a makeshift coffin. He also claimed to see tiny wooden crosses placed around the body. Other officers have refuted this, yet the imagery persists. The nearby Watchung Reservation was actually known for animal sacrifices, and during the investigation, police allegedly took a witch to assess the crime scene. The local press focused on these sensationalized details. Rumors spiraled out of control. The community was heavily influenced by the Jesus movement, an evangelical Christian movement. The 1970s also marked the beginning of the satanic panic and saw a rise in serial killings with the likes of Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Son of Sam. It had only been 3 years since the murders committed by the Manson family. The cliff where Jeanette's body was found was extremely difficult to climb. A fire truck had to be brought in to retrieve the body with help of a ladder. The autopsy was inconclusive, but ruled out drugs in Jeanette's system. X-rays showed no bullet holes or fractures. The coroner officially listed the cause of death as suspicious, possibly the result of strangulation. Theories as to what happened predictably ranged from occult sacrifices to Jeanette being the victim of a serial killer. She was known to hitchhike, which was far more common back then, and may have done so to get to the train. One witness who came forward claimed to have given her a ride, dropping her off on a corner where 2 boys and a girl were waiting. As to possible suspects, tips led to a local man named Red who lived in the woods working as a caddy at a nearby golf course. He allegedly fled after Jeanette's body was discovered. Police eventually ruled him out. Serial killer Richard Cottingham, who also lived in New Jersey and dumped his victims in remote wooded areas, supposedly wrote a letter claiming to have killed Jeanette, although his methods didn't match the manner of her death, and no physical evidence connects him. He claimed to have murdered between 85 and 100 girls. Jeanette's death is often linked to the murder of another girl, Joan Kramer, also murdered in August of 1972. She had been seen getting into a strange car with a man and found dead 2 weeks later. Otto Nilsson was identified by a witness as the man, but was found not guilty. He had lived very close to Jeanette De Palma and was eventually committed to a psychiatric hospital. Throughout this case, rumors of a cover-up by police have been prevalent. Many individuals close to the family claim to have never been interviewed. And at one point, the department stated that the case records were all destroyed by flooding from Hurricane Floyd. Yet some of the files were released to the public in 2021. With little physical evidence, the case remains unsolved with no closure for Jeanette or her family. What's often lost under the exaggerated shadow of the occult is the story of a normal teenage girl who was close with her sisters, went on dates, and liked Janis Joplin. Exactly what happened to her remains a mystery. The True Crime Psychic Eye team will try to provide some answers.
Hi.
Hey,
How is
Hello.
everybody?
Doing
looking
really
forward
good.
to really what you guys are going to come up with. It's such an interesting case.
I know. I'm really excited for this one too. All right. Welcome everybody. We're back with a new episode of True Crime Psychic Eye with our special guest, of course, psychic medium Denise.
Thank you for having
Episode
me.
Of course. Episodes air live twice a month. So if you have a case you would like us to investigate, let us know in the comments. Tonight, though, we're going to take a look at the unsolved case of Jeanette De Palma. She's a 16-year-old who went missing in August of 1972. 6 weeks later, her body was found on top of a cliff called the Devil's Triangle. Thanks to the suggestions of occult symbols around her, rumors of witchcraft and satanic ritual were speculated by the media. So her death is still a mystery, which is why we are here tonight. So Harlow is our researcher and does this incredible, intense work to, get the facts of the case first and foremost, and then hands it over to me, and then I do what I can, and then whatever I can't do, Denise jumps in with her 2 cents, and then we try to put all of it together. And within that, we work. We like to bring in the audience, whatever they're feeling or seeing. And so, if you're feeling or seeing anything intuitively, please include it in the comments. We like to take everything into consideration and do this work more so as a team. So, Harlow, I've always been so intrigued with the way that you research these cases and the stuff that goes on while you're researching, because you always have such interesting stories to share. So, tell us a little bit about your process. And then we decided we're going to start showing a little video on what Harlow experiences, because I know in some of the cases you've had a lot of interaction with the energies involved in the case.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it comes in such different ways. But I start off, well, this was Denise's idea to do this case. And then, as you'll see in the video, once I got into it, I knew we needed to do it. And I watched a documentary, I read a couple things online, listened to some podcasts, and it's just such a fascinating case with so many different things going on and yet never solved. So I had a little bit of interaction, and the video will show that.
All right, so let's check it out.
Choosing a case, researching, and creating the opening video are a few of my duties for the show. As it turns out, intuition often plays a part. Denise suggested the case tonight, but when I saw a photo of Jeanette De Palma, I was drawn to her eyes, and I knew we needed to tell her story. Shying away from using copyrighted images prompted me to start drawing the victims. As a horror artist, this might have been a questionable choice, but the work seems to establish a sort of connection. Some more than others, of course. Drawing Jody Husentrude sparked a series of dreams about her case. I didn't need to draw Jeanette, since a public domain photo was available, so I just started talking to her and playing music since she had been only 16 when she died. I felt her presence, but she seemed really distant, like far away. I experienced a lot of technical glitches, especially while trying to add music to her video. It probably took at least 5 attempts. The one intuitive moment she felt truly present was when I took a break, checking on the plants I had started for a garden. For some reason, it suddenly popped into my head that I needed to name a sweet potato, and Pearl came out of my mouth. I wouldn't ever normally have used that name, and it caught me off guard, and I almost changed it. But then I remembered Janis Joplin. It was her chosen nickname. I had learned that Jeanette was a Janis Joplin fan. So this was a fairly quiet, subtle case for me. I'm hoping Maryam and Denise can connect and find out what happened to Jeanette.
I think it's so good to hear what happens before we come into the case, because there's so much that goes into it for Harlow. I mean, your intuition plays such a big part, and I can imagine like the drawing them must just really trigger a lot of intuition.
I think that really happened for Jody, and then I didn't need to do that in this case. So I just started playing music and talking to her, and she was there, just really remote.
Interesting. All right. And anything, so you got you heard the name Pearl, right?
It came out of my mouth. I don't really even like the name. I never used the name. So I was like, where did that come from? And I got I was going to change it to something else, and then it hit me. Okay, that's where that came from.
Wow. That's really amazing. Okay, so let's get started. Let's do a quick rundown of what we know, and then I'll jump in.
Here's what we know about the death of Jeanette De Palma. On August 7th, 1972, Jeanette went missing. 6 weeks later, a dog brought home a decomposing arm. A search of the area found her body on a cliff called the Devil's Teeth. Conflicting reports of the crime scene alluded to occult symbols around the body. Her death remains a mystery.
Okay, so for me, that's the first time I'm really digesting and ingesting that information. I have her picture here on my phone, so I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
And this is Springfield, where?
New Jersey.
Okay. Okay. Suspect. So auto. Okay. This one guy. Ugh. Richard Cottingham.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, he's a bad one.
He didn't do it, but gross.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what was interesting for me when Harlow decided to do this case, she sent me a picture of her. I was just looking for a picture to promote, put on the stream. And she sent me the picture of her, and I was like, "Oh, that's me." And I thought, "Huh, was I Jeanette?" So there might be an interesting connection there for me, especially if that was me.
I found that incredibly interesting, but I didn't mention it. It's your story to tell. It's going to be
You're back.
fascinating. Yeah.
I'm back. That's so true. She died in 1972, and I was born in 1973. And did she have two sisters also?
I think there were more than two.
I have two. Okay, so let's do this. Oh, so fun details. That was sarcasm. I am. So as I am seeing things, I'm noticing that when I begin to speak, I'm using, I'm saying I when I was there. So I'm just going to go with that. There's the cliff, right? And then being held over the cliff is what I remember first. Being held over the cliff before actually being killed. And there's more than one person there involved. And I know one of them, female, who I thought was a friend, clearly wasn't. And there's so I'm unsure of why they came after me. I don't understand what I had done. This had nothing to do with the occult. There's like a jealousy there's an anger and a jealousy and a rage that's directed specifically at me. I don't know this other person. I just remember seeing my friend behind this man and wondering why she would do this. These two people were never caught. They were never even suspected. And they have since passed. Drugs. One overdosed on drugs. And the girl went into hiding, even went into like a feeling like something like a psychotic rage. Maybe she may still be alive, but if so, she's on meds. And so not even present anymore, coherent. But she can remember, she does remember, and would remember that night. I'm starting to feel more so like the friend is still alive. The name Lisa comes up. Margaret. Mary. That's all I'm getting for the moment.
Okay.
Hang on really quick, though, before you jump in, Denise. There's something at this location. When I died, before I died, a part of me became very calm, as if I understood why this was happening on a different level, and knew that it was what was supposed to happen in that moment, and allowed it to sort of wash over me. I'm feeling now like maybe that wasn't me as much as when I saw her, I heard her say, "That's me." Because I'm not having any sort of emotion. And I have had experiences before that I've remembered it was my lifetime, and I had still an emotional, visceral response. And I don't have that now. I'm very much dictating someone's story.
Okay.
She's saying, Denise, you've got something for us?
What I got when I was in meditation is very similar to what you got. She did know the person who picked her up. And so that would lend itself to the hitchhiking, because she was hitchhiking. Her friend picked her up. Things were going awry and she didn't know what was going on, is what I got from the energy from her. And so it was almost like she was kidnapped, but she willingly got in the car because she did know the person. And she was playing along at first because it was making her very nervous. And she didn't understand in that moment what was actually going on and why this was happening to her. Then I feel like the friend of the friend drugged her. Almost like because he wanted to take advantage of her. And I got the sense that she was a good kid. Like she wasn't into trouble. She wasn't into, anything too crazy. And the friend, as you said at the beginning, wasn't such a great friend, set her up. What I then felt was that didn't pan out the way those two had thought, and they left her. So they didn't do it, but they did leave her. Well, I'm getting this they left her, and then another group came in because where they left her, they were planning some kind of something. What I saw in meditation was almost like the KKK, but it wasn't that. It was like a group, and they were in, I saw like black hooded garments, like robes, and they were doing rituals, and she just was like, wrong place, wrong time. And I feel like because she was out of it, it's almost like they started to torture her, and that her soul left the body at that time in order to be able to understand why she had to go through this in this lifetime. I also got a sense of the reason it was swept under the rug is that somebody that was involved in the second part of this, or maybe the first part, I'm not sure, but they were related to somebody in the police department, and it was a cover-up.
And I'm hearing that's the friend. That was the girl.
Okay. So maybe her dad was the police chief or something, or, because whatever it was, her relation was a higher ranking officer. And so because of that, they just hid the whole thing because they didn't want the daughter to be exposed. Yeah.
That's the friend. And what I'm not seeing is that second. So you're saying you don't see the guy killing her?
No.
Interesting.
No, I don't see him killing her. I think he thought she was dead, and he left her for dead.
Yeah, because I don't necessarily, I don't see him killing her, so I don't know how he killed her.
Yeah.
I don't see I see that. I see it just stopping, and I don't see what came after that. So, yeah, that's where I'm like,
yeah.
I don't feel like, for some reason, I don't feel like it was in a cult. I feel like it was more, it feels more like what you said, like a gang, like a KKK type thing, not a cult, or what's it called? A cult, not black magic. I'm not feeling like
demonic
or, yeah.
I think what I got was like, it was like a group, and they were almost like they were kids and they were messing around. Kind of like, remember when we were little and we'd be like at slumber parties and you get the Ouija board out, you know?
Mhm.
And so it was kind of almost like that. But I think the original person left her for dead because she was so out of it. She passed out, and he was drugged. And so he was just like, I got to get, you know, I don't even know if I'm actually not even getting a sense of that he was fully aware that he left her behind.
Yeah. I think so here's where I'm feeling it cut off. So the friend has the father that's involved in police, government, whatever, which is how this got swept under the rug. The guy that was with the friend is just some drug addict guy she was dating or dated for a moment, not Jeanette's friend. And but I am feeling a sense of torture, if that's a fair word, happening between this guy that was with Jeanette's friend and Jeanette, which is what originally knocked her out. And so she wasn't conscious. I'm wanting to ask this group that you said that followed up, and that, do you think, I feel like that group that you're seeing may have been the police department, because I'm not feeling anything.
Okay, that would
than,
explain like the hat type thing. Like they would have their,
maybe, but more so it's an organized group that came in to do something.
right. And so they were circling
just
the
to
area.
remove the situation, because
Right.
I don't feel a group coming in. I don't feel anything happening after she interacted with those two people.
Right.
So the group that comes in after, to me, feels like an organized group with a specific purpose.
Like they planted the satanic items.
There you go. Maybe now we're guessing, but
Yeah,
yes,
that's just a guess.
that's
But
a guess.
Because I know
Something like that. Yes, like this organized group. So intuitively, I know it's an organized group that came in with a purpose. So when we start to guess at that, we're saying, yeah, did this organized group come in to plant something, to remove the body, to whatever they were doing, right? And they were the ones that took care of, right? Got rid of and took care of it. The organized group tells us that it was planned, that they were coming in specifically to do something to close this situation up, right?
clean up the mess, so to speak.
Clean up the mess. Yes.
Do you?
Okay. I have items that kind of coincide with that, and then items that detract from that. There's like a lot of there's so much involved. They couldn't do much of an autopsy because it had been so long, and everything was pretty degraded. There were stains on her clothing, but they couldn't do DNA tests. But they didn't find any drugs in her system. So there's that. But it's very believable that the police could have covered it up because her purse, one guy said, was there. They logged the items she had, but then later on, all the items were strewn on the ground and the purse wasn't there. They never found her necklace. I don't know what happened with that. I'd like to know. But then the police, when they come in, they do a sketch. There weren't any satanic things. That was kind of made up by the newspapers. But supposedly one cop said there were tree limbs that looked like a coffin and there were little crosses. So there was more religious things than there were witchcraft and satanic. But then all the drawings didn't measure up. They showed her arm, one arm, the right arm being over the tree limb, but the right arm, they said that is what the dog brought back. So everything is so convoluted. So a cover up makes a lot of sense.
So the wait, hang on, you had me. Oh, so I felt her being knocked out. So she died from a hit blow to the head.
Okay.
And I also saw her being hung off the cliff and then brought back up. And this was the guy that was involved was, you know, I guess that doesn't matter because he didn't live in the town that this happened in. I don't even feel like he lived in the same state because I feel him leaving after that. The friend took her necklace.
Okay.
I saw a yank.
Okay.
Like she ripped it off of her.
And it makes sense that she would have been taken because by all accounts, she was wearing sandals and the fire department had to get the truck with the ladder. How would she have even climbed up there with sandals on? The police had a hard time getting up there. So she would have probably had to have been. I don't know. That one, I don't understand.
How you don't understand how she got up there?
Yeah, it's extremely jagged and straight up. They couldn't even get the body down without the fire truck ladder.
So I mean, like she was knocked out at some point, so she was carried. And yeah, I'm just going to stick with that.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I'm not sure the friend was still there when he was dragging her up.
Yeah, I felt that they put her there purposely after she was already dead.
So I feel like whatever happened, and I think he
I agree.
Drug her up there, carried her, whatever, to kind of hide her.
I agree. I feel the same. I felt the same thing as Harlow was talking. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I felt that too. Yeah.
And the friend, I feel like the friend at the last second, like grabbed the necklace and yanked it off.
Yeah.
Because it would have been, gosh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Given who she was. Connection.
Like, right. Because she wore it all the time. And so if they had found the necklace on her, they would have known who she was immediately, whereas they were trying to deflect.
I felt that too.
They wanted to do what they did to her. I don't think they intended for her to die.
I agree. This guy though was PCP and LSD.
Because I got drugs when I was meditating for sure for whoever.
And he was so far gone. There was just and there was a sexual undertone to it. You know, there was a whole sexual component to it that triggered why this guy was there in the first place and what his intentions were. And so, and he's never done that before, but he's been in some very aggressive, violent situations before due to his excessive drug use.
Because like at the beginning, like I think he was the driver and the friend was in the front seat and they got her in the car and she was playing she was playing along with this until she got scared, but then she was not sure what to do at that point. So that makes sense to me that, you know, it's almost like a bad movie.
Yeah, I agree. Harlow, what do you have? Were you able to keep up with all that?
Yeah, I'm going to have to find some other way to do this because I try to type everything you guys are saying, but I'm kind of running out of room. Let me go ahead and download
I
it.
know. We could hear you typing vigorously.
Sorry.
No, I don't mean that in a bad way. I liked it. It works.
There were people that said when she had left home, there's so many different stories. It's crazy. There was somebody that said she actually gave her a ride. It was a 19-year-old, and she saw her at night and thought, oh, it's crazy. You're younger than me and you're out here. So she gave her a ride, and she described everything that she was found wearing and said she was playing with her necklace and that she dropped her off and she met two guys and a girl on a corner. And then no one saw her after that. And then there's other people that's okay.
Can I interrupt really quick? When you said that, he choked her with the necklace. He didn't hit her on the head. He choked her.
It was labeled possible strangulation, so that makes sense.
That's why that necklace is gone.
He twisted it and then yanked it off of her.
Oh, shoot.
Sorry. Got to go back now. Add that in.
No. Well, I do if I have room.
Was the friend that was with the guy, was she older and was she telling her story? I'm getting like she was the friend that was with him that picked her up and then described her because she was in the car.
Ask that question again.
Because the girl that said that she stopped in the evening and picked her up because she, she was 19.
She was a stranger. She didn't know her.
Oh, she was a stranger. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She just saw her hitchhiking and gave her a ride because it was at night. And she could tell she was young.
Wait.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, because I said she was picked up by a guy and a girl, and the girl was her friend that was in the car. But you're saying, Harlow, they're saying it was just some random guy that picked her up?
No, a girl. It was a woman, a 19-year-old girl. Saw her while she was driving because she was hitchhiking, and she gave her a ride and dropped her off. And there was two guys and a girl standing on a street corner, and she went and talked to them.
Oh, okay.
And she described all her clothes and her sandals and everything. So it sounds like it's true. But then there's other people that said she went to a house known to be a party house. Well, there wasn't a party that day, but it was kind of a sketchy place. Maybe they met her there. I don't know. So there's just a lot of different stories.
I don't know about that girl that was 19.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm confused. Where does this girl that was 19 come into play? She gave her a ride?
She just saw Jeanette hitchhiking.
Yeah.
At night.
Oh. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. Let me take this down. Harlow, I see, is ready.
I should have used a different font, probably. There's just so much information when you guys get going, which is awesome.
Okay, so I guess this being held over the cliff before being killed is not necessarily true.
Did you want me to read this? It's probably hard to read, huh?
Go ahead, you can read it.
You said Richard Cottingham, the serial killer, didn't do it. You were at first you were saying I while channeling, but that changed. But yeah, you said she was held over the cliff before she was killed. Multiple people were involved, and she knew the female, thought she was a friend, didn't know what was going on, but it had nothing to do with the occult. It was more jealousy and rage directed at her. She didn't know the man. Two people were never caught or suspected. The man has passed away to an overdose. The girl went into hiding. If she's still alive, she's not coherent, but she remembers what happened. You got Lisa, Margaret, or Mary. And you said before Jeanette died, she calmly understood it was meant to happen. And she was probably the one saying, that's me, where you got the I from. Yeah. For Denise, she's saying Jeanette wasn't sure what was going on, but got in the car because she knew what the one girl. The man may have drugged her. They left her, and someone else came in. So that could be the cops or whoever. Mm-hmm. They tortured her, and her soul left her body. The girl may have been related to a police officer or high-ranking authority, so it was covered up. The group could have been the police. Her friend took her necklace.
All right. I want to change some stuff.
I was gonna say, now that I'm like, okay.
I want
So
to go
is it-
back because I feel like we together, Denise and I started putting more pieces together. So this is, Denise, you tell me if I'm missing something. This is what I feel like we intuitively started to piece together. And I stress that because we can make assumptions and guess, but intuitively, I feel like we put this together, that she was strangled with the necklace. She was carried up to the cliff and like thrown up there, which is where I feel like I first saw the dangling, and it wasn't that. It was them throwing her up there. The group that came in after was an organized group, probably police or whomever, maybe not police, but a group of men that knew this had happened and needed to cover it up somehow or do whatever they needed to do. We both agree that she knew the person, that the girl, she was with a guy and a girl. The girl was a friend. And then you were saying, Denise, this 19-year-old that claims to have seen her, you're saying doesn't feel right to you?
Not really. Not in the sense that she picked her. I mean, logically, it makes sense from the standpoint that she could have picked her up and dropped her off with these other two. But I got a sense of she was nervous in the car. Like things were.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I'm questioning whether or not this person really did pick her up, because I got the sense that she got in the car. Like the girl that was a friend, I don't think she was a close friend, but I think she was like an acquaintance friend. Yeah. And I like the guy, I got the feeling the guy was driving, and it was more of an opportunity that he was like, the girl was like, oh, I know her. And he was like, okay, let's get her. You know what I mean? Kind of, I don't think any of this was premeditated per se.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm getting a sense of that he was so whacked out.
Yeah.
That he just.
But he got violent when he did drugs. So this isn't unusual. Yeah. Like this is, for people that knew him, they would say this was a pattern for him to get violent.
Right.
The girl that was with him didn't know him well enough to know that he got violent. That's where that went astray. He also, I definitely can feel for sure he did not live in that town and just drove away that night, never to be heard from or seen again.
Yeah. And truthfully, because he was so out of his mind, it was almost like he would consciously not have a recollection of it.
Of a lot of it, yeah.
Because I think he was like blacked out.
Yeah.
Violent and just had no idea.
This girl she knew, we'll call her a friend, but I agree it wasn't necessarily a close friend. But this girl that she knew, not been involved, they never would have, this case would have looked very different, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah. And purely speculation, I wonder if the girl that was the 19-year-old who said she picked her up and it was dark and dropped her off to these two people.
Was she the friend?
Was she the friend? That's
what I was wondering.
I think she was the friend, and to deflect, because she was also partying, but not to the extent of this guy, and she wanted to separate herself from him. So I feel like because she knew exactly what she was wearing, and then to deflect, she just I dropped her off on the corner and fabricated some kind of story, not actually realizing that she would be dead.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
That's what I feel from that that was where she came back and she was like, oh yeah, I picked her up and this happened and that happened. And then I think whoever came in to clean it up was wearing dark clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like criminals used to wear like ski masks,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like they were doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm seeing that, to hide everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that girl. It's funny, Harlow, you said you thought the same thing, that maybe
Yeah.
that girl was the friend.
How else would she know what she was wearing?
Yeah.
She mentioned the cross, her playing with the cross necklace and everything.
Yeah. That's
fascinating.
yeah.
Okay. Now what we also discovered is Harlow, the initial information that we get is kind of just like we're kind of like regurgitating what we're seeing. Like we're trying to correctly interpret what we're seeing, right? Because it wasn't until you spelled it out for us on paper, then from an intuitive place, I went back and I was like, oh no, that's not correct. Like for me, at least, I can't speak for you, Denise, but for me, like those, you guys know those visuals are important. I use photos. And so when you visually line it all up, I can easily go, oh, that's not correct. Or I said that it's not that it's not correct. I interpreted it incorrectly. I can interpret it easier once you have it all written out like that. So it's kind of nice that word, it's like a second checkpoint for us, right?
Yeah.
Regurgitate the information, you put it all on paper, and then we go back and go, are we still saying this to be, because Harlow, you research with that intuitive sense attached to it. I feel like it allows all of us to keep moving from a place of intuition. And that's why I try to like articulate, okay, now we're just guessing, right? Now we're kind of because there's a difference between when we're guessing and trying to put pieces together and when we're intuitively going, something's not right. And you not from the beginning, but when that came up, Denise, you were like, something's not right about that 19-year-old. Something's not right. And then as we kept talking it out, we were like, oh, that's what's not right. She was the one that was there.
Right. So yeah, she was trying to pretend that, she was this nice person and to kind of go back to what you said is that now she's in a psychotic break because she really can't believe she was a part of that.
Witnessed that. Yeah.
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 I mean, setting herself up there separates her from the crime scene completely.
Right.
Then that sounds like the work of someone who has someone in that works for the police department or FBI or right. That sounds like someone who was smart, who was what's the word when they not educated, but someone prepared her, like told her this is what you're going to say, and this is.
And it explains why a lot of people said they were never interviewed, friends and family. The whole cover-up thing, everything was swept under the rug.
Yeah, because that girl was coached to say what she said.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, when you said that, it wasn't coming in at that moment, but I'm like, yeah. So she was coached by somebody in, whether it was a lawyer or the department or whatever, and then they did go up and clean up, like almost like and this is not really what happened, but it's almost like I see like tree branches being swept to kind of clean up the debris. I think the reason that they had so many religious, because if in one of the pictures, and I don't think these were on, like, I think these were some of the ones, Harlow, that you said were not out there. They were copyrighted. That's the word I'm looking for. She went to Catholic school.
Yeah, her family was active in the church.
And I think there was religious artifacts supposedly placed to kind of also alleviate the whole, you know, because I don't think they were actually there. I think that was another layer of rhetoric that was like, oh yeah, we saw these things, kind of like her cross was missing. You know, I think that was part of the fabricated story.
Very much, because
Sorry, I know it took me a long time to get there.
The few crime scene photos don't show anything like that.
Yeah. I think that was another part of the fabrication to kind of throw things off in order for it to look like it was random. And
that's why her purse disappeared. There could have been some identifying stuff in there.
Yeah. I think what occurred was what you and I both got, was that it was, you know, because the girl that was the 19-year-old, the quote unquote friend, she didn't know the dude very well. Like she was like, thought he was all that in a bag of chips, you know what I mean? But then she realized after that whole thing, because he just bolted and kind of left her with the mess. And, you know, back in the 70s, there wasn't cell phones. It's not like you were going to call on a landline and go, hey, do you remember when we did? You know?
Right. No, I feel like she's never heard from him ever. Like didn't even know his last name, you know?
No.
Like there was zero connection there. Yeah. No connection. I agree. And he just drove off and never be heard from again. I feel like we sort of solved it. Sort of.
It makes everything you guys came up with makes a lot of sense to me after listening to the whole case. Yeah.
So can I pat myself on the back?
Absolutely.
Did we do good? Yay.
I think so.
I feel like that case is the one that we've come the closest to, like really specifically nailing down, okay, the step-by-step thing that happened, right? Like how she ended up with them and then the steps to get there. I feel like that's the closest we've gotten with it.
Yeah, from the beginning, it was pretty obvious it had nothing to do with occult or witchcraft or any of that.
But then sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and one of the pictures where the crime scene was, I saw a lot of energy there, but it's not people energy because it's in the woods. So it's a lot of animals that have died of natural causes, or, you know what I mean? Just things like that.
Yeah.
So I saw that type of energy, you know, not like sacrificial energy. I thought it was more of a, you know.
And the interesting thing is how long was she out there for? We don't know.
She disappeared, and then 6 weeks went by before the dog brought the arm back.
Oh, that was quite a while. So
yeah.
And so my thought is, like, with that type of energy, because like in the woods back there, you're going to have, you know, wolves and foxes and bears, and, you know, because it's the East Coast. So they have different stuff than, you know, like I live in the desert, you know, so, you know, we aren't going to have a whole lot of, you know, scorpions, you know, having a feast on that after 6 weeks.
Yeah, that was a wilderness area. So there was a lot of animals.
Yeah. So I think that's where it got, you know, and I think the dog finding the arm was accurate because, you know, dogs just wander and run and like, oh, look what I found, you know, and they're like, is that brown? And like,
they took it back to the owner's apartment complex, and the complex managers found it. So it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I'd be like, ah. But I think it's more like dogs are like, look at the stick I found, you know. Yeah. You know. Are you proud of me? Look what I brought you. I brought you a present, you know.
Oh God, that's something else.
I know. It's like when I just can't, like when, you know, I mean, you know, they're so proud of themselves that they brought it to you and you're just like, oh no, please don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I live in the city, so the most that they'll bring over to us is a piece of paper they found on the floor.
Yeah.
No one's getting, nothing's, there's no out in the wild for them here.
I know. My sister's cat, she'll, you know, because she's mostly an indoor cat, but occasionally she'll get out in the backyard, and I've had to tell her to release the lizard.
Wow.
I'm like, he's our friend. Put that down. Thanks for the present, but put it back.
I had a cat jump up to get in the window one time, and it had a bird in his mouth, and it flew around the room.
Oh gosh.
But I was able to get it back outside.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was okay.
I love Mother Nature from a distance.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nice job, Harlow.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
you guys-
That was awesome.
You guys
Thank
did
you for-
good. We didn't have a lot of questions, but I don't know how many people are familiar with this case. It's not a super well-known one, but I just found it fascinating.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. And so who's going to call the police department and tell them we solved it? Who's going to get laughed at? Could you imagine?
Oh, I know, because they're going to
guys.
just tell us you psychic crackpots or whatever they'll say.
I went to go back, and there was, I think it was in the one Hulu episode where they actually mentioned the girl that picked up, her hitchhiking. They mentioned her name, and I don't know if it's one of the names that you came up with, Miriam. So I want to check that out. I
Oh,
want to check it out.
Yeah, you
there's a
guys.
Christmas special.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. So on our community page, on the YouTube community page, Harlow has been really great about following up after we do episodes and saying, "Hey, I put this together and that together." So, yeah, we'll now, but she only puts stuff up there if it's right. Like, she's not going to be like, "No, Maryam was wrong. That's not."
And Denise was full baloney.
No, I'm teasing. She'll always do follow up, and you should do follow up even if it proves us wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're thinking we might be doing a follow up on
Jody.
Jody.
And
Who's in fruit, right?
Correct.
And Greg with Ghostblock Radio, he said he would like to join us and help by using the pendulum to see if we can locate her. So if he does join us, we're gonna have to figure out how to kind of do that with like a map or something. I don't know. But either way, we're thinking of doing a follow-up. That's kind of on you, Harlow, to think if we've got enough to go on, since Denise and I both felt like she's still alive, that we out of due diligence should follow.
Yeah, I'm curious because the guy you thought did it didn't have a house. There was no basement to take her into. He lived in a trailer at the time. Oh, no, he lived in his truck at the time or in a trailer with a friend. So there wasn't a house unless it was some random house they used. So I'd like to look into that more.
Interesting.
See where you think she is and pin down that more. And there were some other things that came up too. And I have still the other 15 episodes to listen to.
Sheesh. Anita's saying I can't make some comments, but I apparently got way too verbose, so I stopped. But I think you guys nailed this. I felt definitely cops covered crime scene up. Oh, interesting. You felt the same thing. What do you mean, Anita? You left a lot of comments, but we missed them?
I didn't see any.
I didn't either.
That's weird. I was watching and nobody really said much.
I think you guys nailed it. I felt definitely. So she felt the same thing. See, I love that. She felt the same thing that this was covered up. God, that does happen. A lot of these true crime cases seems to always come down to someone covering something up.
Yeah.
Okay, so Harlow, how many episodes have you been listening to for Jody Who's in Truth?
Well, I listened to 15 of them, and then I had to stop and do Jeanette. And now I got to go back and listen to the last 15. So
wow. Okay, so we might be doing that one next. We don't, depending on timing, we're not going to push and rush.
So I'm going to have to see if there's enough information to even make a second short video to follow up.
Okay.
So once I listen to all that and have all the rest of the knowledge, then I'll know where to go with it.
Okay, sounds good.
Excellent.
But I feel like Jody's still present in a way, because I did get a couple other glimpses in a dream. I don't know if they're related to that or not, so I'm going to kind of hold on to that.
Oh, cool. Interesting. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, well, we definitely want to hear about that. Anita's saying also flashed on her being drugged in very beginning. Okay, good. So we've got all of us agreeing on that. It just
but there were no drugs in her system.
Oh, I thought she meant being. Oh, I thought she meant being
drugged.
But you're saying drugged.
I don't know.
Anita, do you mean drugged or being dragged?
The guy could be picking up on the drugs from the guy too.
Totally. I mean, he
Yeah.
had enough in him for all three of them. So yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and then some.
You know, I
And-
don't know how much of an autopsy they were able to do because she was not in great shape after all
Well,
that time.
and if we're going to go back to the cover up, they might have just said there was no drugs in her system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't feel like she had drugs in her system. He did, but I don't necessarily feel like she did. The friend might have, and that would make sense, but
And not nearly as much as him. He was loaded.
Yeah.
Oh, Anita's saying she meant drugs. Got it.
Okay. No, and you guys didn't get any name for the guy?
No. I mean, he's just like I feel like he's just like a poof in time,
I did, and when I was meditating today, I did see somebody with a mustache, but not the guy that was the serial killer.
Right.
That guy's creepy, and he's on a whole.
He's a whole different story.
That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the guy, because in the 70s, everybody had porn stashes, right? So I have a feeling that he did, you know what I mean? And I saw him as a thinner guy.
Me too.
Kind of tall and thinner, but not like emaciated thin, just
right.
Yeah.
And me too.
He's doing all those drugs. He probably would be.
Yeah. And I see him with like sandy blonde, kind of brownish blonde hair.
Could be longer.
Did you get that he's passed though also?
Yeah, I could. Yeah. With
all right. I think we did good tonight, you guys. For anyone who's interested, I'm going to jump off this link, and there's going to be a guided meditation because we always need to clean the palate after this. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks with another case that is up to Harlow. If you guys have any suggestions, please let us know. And thank you very much. That was awesome work.
Will that be Jody or will that be something else?
To be determined.
We'll have to see.
You don't expect much there.
I'll do some research and see if I come up with something exciting.
Yeah, we'll see what comes up. Okay, you guys, thank you very much. We'll see everybody either on the meditation next or in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.